Just keep climbing.
Towering at more than 10,000 feet in the San Gabriel Mountains lies Mount Baldy. Reaching the summit is a challenge even for the most experienced hikers, but summiting it in winter adds a whole other dimension and level of danger. As one hiker sets off in the darkness of the early morning, she documents her adventures on social media. "It's go time," she cries as she grins at the camera. But very soon, it will be stop time because what happens next brings everyone to a standstill. For 57-year-old Crystal Paula Gonzalez Landis, hiking up Mount San Antonio, also known as Mount Baldy, was nothing out of the ordinary. She was an avid hiker and documented her strenuous climbs on her social media channels. She had become known as the Dancing Hiking Queen or Hiker for Life. Dressed in glamorous clothing and always smiling at the camera, Crystal had grown a significant following on her social media. Living in Covina, Mount Baldy was Crystal's nearest mountain, and she had summited it numerous times. Her love for hiking and the great outdoors began when she was younger and fell in love with the Garcia Trail just outside LA. She developed the essential skills to successfully summit some of America's highest peaks, succeeding in making it to the top of Mount Whitney, the highest mountain in the contiguous United States. But it wasn't just the impressive hike she made that gained her recognition. Crystal was also an inspiration to many. She would post words of encouragement alongside her photos and videos, pushing others to appreciate nature and to set high goals, not only in hiking, but also in life. She always wore a smile and was well known on the mountains by regulars. On January 6, 2023, Crystal posted the phrase, "Just keep climbing," alongside a video of her hiking up Mount Baldy. Her followers knew that this was another of her regular hikes and hit the like button and commented on the beautiful photos she posted on her Facebook page. She was no stranger to Baldy Mountain and often snapped picturesque photos of the snow-covered slopes as she made her way to the summit. Mount Baldy, officially known as Mount San Antonio, is one of the highest and most recognizable peaks in Southern California, with an elevation of 10,064 feet, 3,068 meters above sea level. The climb to the top of Mount Baldy is known to be demanding, but offers breathtaking views as a reward. On a clear day, the vistas are spectacular, with views stretching from the Pacific Ocean to the Mojave Desert. Crystal made it to the most famous landmark on the mountain, the Sierra Club's San Antonio ski hut. She ran into an old friend and documented her brief visit on social media. It was one of her favorite places in the world to watch the sunrise. The ski hut serves as a pit stop for most adventurers. Here they can take a break, plan the next phase of their hike, and enjoy the breathtaking views. Nestled on the side of Mount Baldy, just 2 miles below the summit, the hut not only provides a welcome respite, but also marks the beginning of one of the most technically challenging parts of the climb, where hikers and climbers should exercise particular caution, especially during the winter months. After pausing at the hut to refuel, she continued her route to the summit. But the conditions were too dangerous to continue. In a video Crystal posted online, snow can be seen sliding down the steep mountainsides. She knew the dangers of mountaineering in loose ice and snow and decided to turn back. She captioned the video, "This stuff is dangerous. Beware, hikers. This stuff has no traction. We have to shuffle our feet across," she says in a video. "This is the stuff I dealt with on the bowl and just decided to turn around."
All right. Oh my gosh, here comes another snowball. Woo!
They were wise words, and it was a wise decision to turn back. But just 2 days later, on Sunday, January 8, 2023, Crystal did it again. Before dawn, she headed for Mount Baldy. She documented her trip as usual and posted a video of her hike in the early darkness. Crystal wore a bright yellow top and headlamp over her baseball cap and her typical wide smile. She was in her element.
It's go time. Lots of people out today.
As darkness turned to morning twilight, Crystal continued her climb unabated, determined to complete the challenge. Despite the deep snow, there were plenty of other hikers on the mountain. Once again, she managed to reach the ski hut. From the ski hut, there were two trails that hikers and climbers can follow to the top and back down: the Baldy Bowl Ski Hut Trail and the Devil's Backbone Trail. Both trails offer unique challenges and scenery, but they are certainly not without risk, especially during the winter months when conditions on the mountain can be most treacherous. After pausing at the hut to refuel, she continued her route to the summit. The more experienced hikers ascend the mountain between 4 and 5 a.m. before the sun melts the snow and ice, causing hazardous conditions such as avalanches and falling ice from trees overhead. Crystal had certainly made an early start, and in all likelihood made it to the ski hut as the sun rose above the horizon. With less than 2 miles to go, and halfway between the ski hut and the summit, Crystal was suddenly hit by ice that was rolling down the steep mountainside. What she had just turned away from just days before was now coming straight for her. With no time to react, the ice hit her, and she lost her footing. With only ice and snow beneath her boots, she was quickly swept off her feet. In an instant, the 57-year-old was sliding down the steep and treacherous Baldy Bowl with no way of stopping. She tried to dig her feet into the snow and ice, but she couldn't gain any traction on the steep slope. She was now gaining speed, and the world whizzed by in a blur. Everything had happened so quickly, and those few moments must have felt like an eternity. Bystanders watched in horror as the dancing hiking queen plummeted downwards. Her bright yellow jacket, her black backpack all tumbling further and further. Unable to stop herself from sliding over the ice and snow, Crystal crashed straight into a tree 700 feet below. Peering down the steep slope, fellow hikers could see the yellow jacket on Crystal as she lay motionless on the ground at the base of the tree. Immediately, somebody triggered an SOS message from a Garmin InReach device. The report that somebody had fallen down Baldy Bowl was relayed to the Fontana Sheriff's Station for immediate response. They scrambled the patrol helicopter, 40 King, and the pilot deputy and tactical flight officer deputy flew to the location pinged by the GPS. Several other mountaineers had managed to scramble down the slippery slope to help Crystal. She was in a bad way, but she was surrounded by people who were doing their best to help her. Soon they heard the distinctive sound of chopper blades whirring in the early morning sky. 40 King had arrived and lowered a medic down to assess Crystal. The medic knew that they needed a medevac off the mountain, and so the pilot radioed through for the sheriff's air rescue team. Shortly after, the medic was hoisted down to Crystal from the sheriff's rescue helicopter. He was an advanced emergency medical technician. Time was of the essence. The team needed to get Crystal straight to hospital via helicopter because it was the quickest way. But the weather was not on their side. Just as the medic requested a hoist rescue to rush Crystal to hospital, the clouds came in, obscuring the view and posing a significant risk to the helicopter's crew. With poor visibility from the low-lying cloud, the team had to find an alternative way to get Crystal off the mountain. Due to the slope angle, and the ice was too dangerous to hike, so instead they had to lower her down by creating a rope system. This was a slow process, and only once the cloud lifted could they load Crystal up into the chopper. But it was too late. Crystal had succumbed to her injuries. Her life, so full of adventure, energy, and enthusiasm, came to a sudden and tragic end.
Out of this, a tragedy on top of Mount Baldy. A mother of 4 and a very experienced hiker has died, sliding 700 feet down the mountain to her death.
She was flown to the Sheriff's Aviation Department and subsequently transported to the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office. Her family then received the worst news of their lives. Crystal was the second person in just 2 weeks to lose their life on Mount Baldy, and it would be just 5 days later that British actor Julian Sands would also meet his end whilst hiking the Baldy Bowl. Gil Estrada, who was in charge of the ski lodge and had a long record of service with the ski patrol, said that most people slip, injure themselves, get lost, or lose their lives on the final ascent. According to the commander of the Sheriff's West Valley Search and Rescue Team, Baldy claims 2 or 3 lives a year, and that's where we're at. It's pretty steady. As the terrible news of Crystal's accident spread, her followers on social media couldn't believe it. Some thought that it had been some kind of mistake or that they had the wrong person. Then came the chilling realization that Crystal's last video on her Facebook page of her hiking in the dark with her head torch was the last recording that she would ever make. The autopsy report on exactly how Crystal passed away was not made public. Crystal Paula Gonzalez Landis' funeral was held on February 3, 2023, at Sky Rose Chapel in Rose Hills Memorial Park. She was known to many as the Dancing Hiking Queen and a hiker for life. She left an indelible impression in her community through her fearless dedication to daily hikes and spreading inspiration. Her family praised her as a wonderful mother of four, a loving sister, and a friend whose presence personified strength, love, and beauty. Crystal was known for her ability to bring light into the lives of anyone lucky enough to know her, always willing to help where she could. Despite her untimely demise, Crystal left behind a legacy. By sharing her challenging hiking experiences and positive mental attitude, she inspired so many people. Just how many from far and wide became evident when news of her passing got out. Comments and messages of condolence littered her Facebook page and the GoFundMe page her family set up to cover funeral expenses. One hiker wrote of the one time he met Crystal, and the encounter he had with her summed up the kind of person she was. He wrote, "It was Easter Sunday, and I woke up at sunrise after camping solo at the summit of Mount Baldy. I slept under the stars, and I was still in my sleeping bag starting to make coffee. Just then, Crystal hiked up to the summit, and when she saw me, she came right over and gave me a piece of Easter candy. Her bright smile and positive energy made my day. I could tell she was a special person."